most welcome. My name is Eko Vincent. Today is yet another edition of the Minority Caucus. It comes your way every Thursday at 6 p.m. You were just watching a video from the Ashanti region when Nana Addo visited that region. Clearly, you could see that Nana Addo is much popular in the Ashanti region and more, especially other regions as well. Today we have in the studios Mr. Robert Ahum-Kalinse. He happens to be a former Chief Executive Officer of the GIPC and also a former Vice President of Coca-Cola Africa.
Yes,
Both, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be with you again, Eko.
Most welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Very well. We also have Mr. Emmanuel Asigri. He is a former DCE and also a member of the National Communication Team of the new Patriotic Party. Mr. Asigri, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, brother.
I'm sure you are following the tour of the presidential candidate of the new Patriotic Party.
I am not just here alone, but all the contesting parties, especially that of the NDC. Very, very keenly.
Very well. I could see some twist and spin of the words of the president. Clearly, you could see that he's just flip-flopping.
Well, people are suffocated, and there's no doubt about it. For me, what is more refreshing is that you find them trying to cook things and make themselves happy. The D-Day is approaching, and we would see how it will span out.
Very well. Mr. Robert, just about 48 hours ago, the U.S. had its elections, and the outcome was quite a shocker to the world.
Yes.
Many people were not expecting Trump winning. Do you think that the outcome is going to have some sort of repercussions on the elections of Ghana?
Well, I think, again, good evening to the listeners. I think from Ghana's perspective, there are some interesting lessons we can learn. Clearly, it's a different country, but I think there are interesting lessons, similar to lessons we learned from Nigeria, if you recollect. And I think some of the lessons that we learned from there is that where an incumbent, with all the state machinery at their disposal, with all the abilities, when the message the people want to hear comes through, the people will vote and make change. So it doesn't matter how much you attempt to glorify or hide or make things look pretty. They say where there is a smell, there is something normally there that makes it smell. So no matter what you want to do, you cannot get away from the reality that no matter what happened, and we've seen it, I think, both in Nigeria and in the US now, where, you know, you had, it was amazing, not commenting on the merits or demerits of either of them, but when you look at from the perspective of where, look at the nature of the campaign that was run. And I think it actually even affects ours. And the way we do it, where if you look at Donald Trump's messages, he went down to the ground. He did not do the media blitz. He did not do the forever, all the things that came in, the razzmatazz and the razzmatazz. No, he went with a message that was clear, that people clearly resonated with. Whether we like it or not is not relevant in terms of our lessons. People resonated for whatever reason, and those people went and voted and changed. And the same thing happened in Nigeria. And so when I look at our situation here in Ghana, for me, what it tells me is that when you are right, you are right. And no matter how you gloss it over, you cannot get away from the realities on the ground. And you can bring all the apparatus of razzmatazz and everything else, but at the end of the day, the truth will emerge.
Mr. Sigrid, Mr. Roberts seemed to suggest that the people of America voted based on the fact that they were suffering. It's some sort of a referendum on the leadership or stewardship of President Barack Obama. Do you agree to that?
Well, the issue here is whether I agree or not, like Mr. Ahum-Kalinse said. I am looking at it from the perspective where you had, you know, all the polls, all the, you know, studies pointing to Mrs. Clinton emerging as the victor. Even up to the point where when voting was over and the results were coming in, we still had these posters or whatever you call them, pointing to certain areas where it was looking like, you know, the woman was going to have it. And when you take Florida, when, you know, everything started and you had it, you know, moving from Trump to Mrs. Clinton and that way until when Trump was holding on the lead. CNN, I was watching CNN, and I think John King also was pointing to the fact that The last county, which has to do with the South Beach County, which is in the southern corner of Miami, Florida. You know, he indicated that that area is a stronghold of the Democrats, and when you look at the projection, went even into when Obama won Florida by a very small margin, but had some good votes coming from that, and it turned out that all those things did not work out. So for me, it smoothens my heart that barely 24 hours to that, we listened to a love letter that was written and then read on radio from the president, where he indicated that the polls and all the pointers are that he would win. And he has a problem when his opponent is campaigning and the people are, you know, resonating with his message.
So do you think that
resonating with his opponent's message, and then having a problem to say that he's carrying himself as if he's a president-elect. Nanado has done nothing to indicate that. And I have said this, I think in this week, right from last week through to this week, I mean, there have been some rebuttals from quite a number of us. And I want to still continue to rebut that point, that there is nowhere, because you see, our opponents have this tendency of trying to always project our candidate as someone who puts himself in some light. Nanado in this contest has, under no circumstance, on one occasion, put himself as a president-elect. He's going about his business, he's going about his campaign, just as who he is, relaxed, you know, and some of us are quite moved at the steam with which he's moving. I mean, look at when he just came from the Central and Western, did Accra, met identifiable groups yesterday, he's on the way, he's already hit BA. Telling you that he's up to the task. So if others are looking at it in their own way and tickling themselves and being happy, that pointers are that they are seeing whatever it is that we don't have the ability to see, but knowing that the Ghanaian voter, the Ghanaian is suffocated under the reign of President Mahama, and for that matter, have given all the indications that they would vote this government out, and they are still holding on to a straw in that drowning situation and saying that they are making some headway. We won't ridicule them, we won't belittle them. At the end of it all, I have no doubt in my mind that this year, and the way we are approaching this election, where we are not going to sit and allow anybody to use whatever means it is to shortchange the will of the Ghanaian people, I know that we emerge victors on a first round vote, and not any second round or runoff issue. So for me, the American election, what I have taken from it is that polls, taking it from now, whether it is the United States, Ghana, France, Germany, wherever it is, I would never, as a politician in my lifetime, believe polls, because I took special interest in the American election, and everything was pointing to Mrs. Clinton. The only time we saw her dwindling was when the FBI came to do, FBI came with that report to do with her aid. And then even with that, she dropped some, points. But Trump, per the projections, never overtook Mrs. Clinton. Look at Florida. Look at North Carolina. Look at Pennsylvania. At least, if for nothing at all, Pennsylvania. This is a blue state. Michigan, these are two blue states. And when I say blue states, democratic states. But look at the outcome. And like it is said, the polls, and let's just leave the general polls that was put out there. If you put the breakdown, where it was indicated that Mrs. Clinton was going to get women votes, both black and white women votes, and when you take the white women votes, how it went for Trump.
Okay, Mr. Asiri, let's go back to our topic. Nanado is in the BA. What are the general concerns of the people of the Brong-Ahafo?
Well, I think that this is not the first time Nanado is going to the Brong-Ahafo region or any part of the country.
Yes.
He's been to every part of this country, he's canvassed, he's sold his message, and for me, if you see the way things have gone with us, I think that we've run a very successful campaign. And there is nothing to say that we have an excuse to give. Let me not even consider that. His message is gone down with the people, and he's gone back again to remind them that what it is he's been there already to promise them is what he's carrying through to getting into government once the people of Ghana give him the mandate. And I have a conviction that with the way, you know, things are going on with us, there is nothing that would stop us from attaining our victory. But Echo, if you take, why I make this assertion is this, if you take the way the campaign has been run, it has not been deliberate that Nanado wants to set out, or his running mate or anybody involved, and would come to want to meet people at an odd hour. It has happened that this year's campaign, I don't know how it turned out, but you find a situation where people wake up to about 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. 2 days ago, the running mate of our party, Dr. Mahmoud Bahumia, he was in a community in the Mamprogo area, Langwese, and it was about, because I was watching the outcome of the American, you know, election, and other folks who, you know, were doing WhatsApp chats,
and Facebook,
were sending messages from Langwese at about 2:30 a.m. And they were telling us that this was happening. You had live streaming, so it wasn't like something was kept and then maybe at that time was put out there. And it's not the first time. I have been up north with them, and then the campaign movement has traveled to beyond 1 a.m. And you come, and the people, both young and old, ready and up to listen to what message we have. And beyond staying awake up to that point in time, we have a message. It is quite interesting that a few months ago, if you recall, there was this popular thing in town by our opponents. We don't have a message. The NPP has no message.
Yes.
If we have a message, if we should bring it out. We should bring our manifesto out and all that. And we said, we're not going to bring anything out for them to copy. The few things that we dropped, or the few things that had its way out there, we saw what happened. Today, the party that was accused not to have a message, when we go to places, they have to run in there and then try and then go and then cover up. And it is not working. Look at how many people they've put into Volta region after Nanado visited the place. Western region, only yesterday. Nanado left Western region the day before yesterday. The vice president is currently in Western region. And the very things they accused Nanado of, in the negative sense, when he went to Western region some months back, and then the chiefs and people complained about the state of their roads, and then he talked about it. We all heard what the president
was sleeping.
Who, when he calls names, turns around and say, others are name callers, he has suffered the most in terms of insults. But he is one person, not his surrogates, but he is one person who leads the pack in terms of insults. He called Nanado names, to the extent that said Nanado was sleeping when he was in the Western region. And when he made that statement, a day after, meeting chiefs in Western region, the chief complained about their routes. They shelved that. Thankfully, yesterday, reality is catching up with them. Yesterday, the vice president was there. And the people of Pristia apparently did not just complain, but they have indicated that no vote, no road, no vote. And he had to admit and was now apologizing. So for me, what I want to let the people of Ghana know is that these are a group of people who have taken Ghanaians for granted. They have had no respect for us. They have had no regard for anything in this country. They've thrown caution to the window. It is like, to hell with us. And that is how we have suffered under the reign of this government from 2009 to date. And so all the tricks that are played out, I want to urge Ghanaians that the quietness with which we have kept our peace, waiting for the day to go and then do what is expected of us, we as party people are giving them that assurance that we will not allow anybody to shortchange what they are anticipating for, which is change that would bring Nanado and Bahumia and the team to come and then transform this country and put it right on its, footing.
Will you also associate yourself with the fact that the canker or the problem that came with the DKM minutes is going to have some sort of repercussions on the electorate coming for BA?
Look, you see, the issues are one too many. We are talking of BA, and it is the DMK issue.
The DKM.
The DKM issue, which is one major thing that has affected the indigenous of that part of our country. And my heart, goes for those who have become victims and have even lost lives. It is not something that we are saying because we want to just get votes out of. It is something that should not have happened. Having gone through a situation where under this dispensation, when I mean this fourth Republican dispensation, we had a similar situation affect us around 94 when we had Priam, not too far from where we are sitting, not too far from here. just around Aveno, you know, and then we had this kind of a situation that had come in, and the regulators, those who needed to have known that what these guys were in was not something that would benefit the people at the end of it, allowed it to happen, and people put their lifetime investments in and have suffered. For us, we are not using it as a campaign message to just win votes, but we are assuring them that when we get the opportunity which we know they would give us, we would go to the latter to get their monies for them. Already we are hearing a lot of things with regards to this issue. But like you said, it is a matter that nobody would go to the Brown Afro region and say would want to shelve. So we
solving this problem, the NDC have already appointed a liquidator to deal with this particular problem, and I'm told that people were given 10 cedis out of the amount of money that they invested.
That is a problem. This is why I'm saying my heart goes to those who have suffered and even suffered, you know, losses in terms of...
But the NDC says they're solving it.
That is why I'm coming. Losses in terms of people who've passed away. Because there's a story where I'm told one person, you know, was, having money in the excess of 100 and something thousand, or is it, you know, in the hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
And when he went, he was given just 3,000 cedis.
Yes.
And that gave the person a shock. And then he passed away.
600,000.
600,000, right? Good. And they gave the person 3,000. You know, that's kind of a thing where you have a government that is involved in what I would call fraudulent ways of doing things. Why I say so is that if you take what is happening with regards to this issue and link it up to other areas, like the issue where the president is talking about restoration of nurses and teachers allowance. His vice president, days ago, said something contrary to what he has said, because NPP, we've said when we come, we restore that. And you find the flip-flopping of the NDC. When the president says something, his vice president says something different, and his surrogates are saying that we put up a document when we were in government to cancel the payments of teachers and nurses allowances. And after they did not be able to show the document to anyone.
We have a video of the vice president's statement in Naleregu nursing training college. But there seemed to be the argument that the president told the people of Ghana that he set up a committee to make sure that they solve this particular problem, and for that matter they are going to give every training college nurse about 150 Ghana cedis instead of the 350 Ghana cedis that they were supposed to pay them.
But you see, you have just said it all. If you are a right-thinking person and you think that this is a government that means business, why would they be doing this type of a thing? And look at when it happened. But like we said, and we started linking this whole thing up to the American election and other places. It is not for anybody to think that the Ghanaian has been that gullible all these years. Because you have the president saying that we have short memory. The Ghanaian has been that gullible all these years, and for that matter, Ghanaians are going to be gullible this time around. And so when these things are put out there, the students would buy into it and then say, okay, with this restoration that has come, we will give our votes to this government. Look, everybody, take it away from students, people in the business sector, everybody in this country has suffered under the hands of this government, and all as a result of mismanagement, you know, not having any plan to govern this country, and just being there, and all we see is wanton corruption, thievery, and mismanagement of our resources. So for me, the issues that are playing out, let nobody sit there and then accuse the NPP and our presidential candidate Nana Akufo-Addo and his running mates. The issues are real issues that have affected the people of Ghana. And people have lived with these situations for years now. So for the president to come up with what I would call this trick, which would not play to his advantage, which would not yield that the results he is looking for, that he is restoring. If anybody thinks I'm using harsh or hard words here, if it's not a trick, listen to what his vice president is saying. And the vice president is supposed to be the head of the economic management team.
But do we have to see
the last time I checked, he hadn't relinquished that position. So if he has a different view from what the president is directing to happen, why wouldn't I say the president is playing tricks on students?
But Mr. Sigrid, do you have to sweep this under the carpet? Because the president is saying one thing today, the vice president is also saying another thing. The president is saying we are going to pay, the vice president is saying we are not going to pay.
No, I'm not saying we are sweeping this under the carpet. That is why we are talking about it here. We are here to discuss the efforts our or the success we are seeing with regards to our campaign led by our presidential candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and then we are pointing these things out. What we are doing is that we are continuing to tell the Ghanaian people, and I know that people have already taken that position, but we are still reminding them that these things that are coming out from this government, it is not something that they have any good intentions to put in place. If government had good intentions to put these things in place, to start with, they would not have cancelled these allowances, because in 2012, it was a major campaign issue. You see, the president said this, but I believe that we are not what he tried to portray us. The Ghanaians have a short memory. He might have forgotten that students' allowances in terms of nurses trainings and then what's it called, College of Education trainees was a major issue in the 2012 elections. When they said to us or said to the people of Ghana that when we were leaving office, the figure was just 2,200 Ghana cedis, and they came and then increased it. Today, if they know that it is not an issue that should have played out, why did they think that it was worth increasing and making it an issue? So for me, when I say they are playing tricks, there is nothing more to add to it than to say that it is tricks that the president is playing by telling us or telling the students that they are restoring these allowances. It is not genuine. But we, at every given time, have indicated and have shown that in certain areas where these people have mismanaged the resources of this country, if we plug and put loopholes there, which once we vote them out, we've already plugged those areas, we would have enough resources to put these things in place for students to get themselves moving in these areas.
The vice president gave a reason for his claim. The reason that he gave was the fact that they are stopping the payment of the nursing training allowance so that they can invest in the infrastructure development in the various nursing training colleges and the teacher training colleges.
You see, again, when you
think that has not been done?
No, when you find a vice president who has been challenged as the head of the economic management team by us through our running mate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on various lectures he's put in place, talking about how they've mismanaged the economy, and you haven't come out to put out this type of infantile statement. I am not an economist, but at least putting figures together, it tells me that that type of argument does not hold. If you take monies alone that they have paid to people, monies alone that they have taken, and you compare that to how much they are supposed to be making in terms of savings from the students' allowances, it is nowhere near anything that we are seeing. Take just the Smarty Bus branding alone, and then you add the numbers in terms of how much they should have been paying for allowances for just an academic year, and you realize that the 3-point-whatever million that was paid to the Smarty Bus branding would have been able to deal with this matter for not just one college or two colleges, but for the entire colleges of education in this country, at least for one semester. Are you getting how I'm breaking it down? Yes. So corrupt monies that have gone to wrong hands. When they say we don't have money and they say they have to save money, we don't need to save money to do any of these things that they are talking of. We have enough. Having to, look, before whatever, when the, the allowances came into being under the PNDC through to the Fourth Republican period, we did not have the kind of resources we have today. And the resources I would want to just look at is our oil resources. Since we started oil production, Ghana has earned not less than $3.5 billion. With $500 million from America, we saw what it did for this country. So if we are talking of extra money, 3.5, when we in our 8 years borrowed not more than 4.8 billion to bring the kind of transformation the before administration brought, and we have had a government that out of the traditional resources from borrowing from our natural resources, cocoa, gold, or whatever it is that we've been getting, we'll be able to run this country and allowances have been paid. And today we are making an extra of 3.8. and they can't pay student allowances, and they're telling us cock and bull stories. I would not even want to go into the details of it.
They are telling us cock and bull stories.
Listen, but to put this out to the viewer, to get to realize that these are people who don't have this country at heart. And for that matter, all they are putting out there is not true.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go for a quick commercial break. We'll be back soon.
Your vote is more than a thumbprint, more than party colors, more than family history. Your vote is the future. Join the conversation on Election 2016 on TV, radio, online, and mobile. #ElectionHQ.
You are most welcome. My name is Echo Vincent. Let's go to the other guest, Mr. Robert Ahomka Lindsay. As I said earlier on, he happens to be the former GIPC boss and also former vice president for Coca-Cola West Africa, Coca-Cola Africa, yes, to be precise. Yeah. Mr. Lindsay, Nana Addo is in the Brown Afro region now. Every presidential candidate will move to the regions or the district, the constituencies to go and campaign. And it's basically because they are canvassing for votes.
That's correct.
The relevance of messaging, how do you take it?
Echo, it is critical. First of all, you cannot win an election by sitting in Accra. That is a fact, because our people are not all in Accra. Accra is an important constituent. And so you have to go to where the people are, those that you are seeking to serve, those that you are seeking their mandate for. And there is nothing quite like a personal interaction. It is okay for them to sit on a TV or listen to a radio, but when you have face-to-face interaction, an opportunity to interact, to ask questions, to listen, because you recollect, and as my brother was saying here, for a long time, we didn't come out with this manifesto because we're listening. There was a lot of listening going on, and because we must understand that at the end of the day, the objective of government is not to please itself. The objective of government is to create solutions to challenges faced by the people. So you must start by listening to the people, and that is what happened for many, many months. I recollect a number of the engagement. Once you've listened, then you put something together, then you have to go out there and tell them, this is what we believe we can do to solve your problem. Your problem of what? And again, for me, this is what is the most critical lesson we must learn. And if you look at what has been happening recently, it is the reactive nature of what the NDC has been doing to the proactive activities the NPP is doing that tells you that the message is resonating. And also, you showed the clip earlier on. When you look at the people, I've seen even Odododo here and some of the other campaign Tema. The huge number, even when we launched the manifesto, the huge number of interest that the message is getting through. And the message is getting through, why? Because the message deals with their problems. The problems of 5 years of doomsday. And the fact that businesses from Bolga to Tema, from whether you are on the border of Togo to the border of Togo to Côte d'Ivoire, businesses have suffered, have closed, big, small, from the hairdresser to the large corporations that have had to close. So when you talk to them about what Doomsaw has done and what the NPP intends to do to address these things, like get rid of this 17.5% taxation on the utility bill, they understand. And it connects. And when it connects, they will say, the Ghanaian electorate is a very smart electorate. They understand the issues. It is when you don't address those issues, or you try and talk either above the head, or you try and, as some of my mother's side, I should say, because my father's side, the Fantis and the Professor, my mother's side, the Ashanti, will say, you took big, big words. Tell me how it connects to me. They want us to be able to show how the solutions we're professing will address the challenges they're facing. And that's where they make sense. Look at what Doomsaw has done. Look at what has happened with the fact that today, I remember sitting in Ghana here, when in 2012, promises were made about the drastic reductions of fuel costs. You remember?
Yes.
Promises.
28.
Huh?
The 208.
Even the two. Let me even give the 208ers. Let me talk.
because
Even,
they
let
made
me
they made
give.
similar
Let me
promises.
give the 208 as a learning process. In 2012, after 4 years, because remember, we are in the 8th year currently of the NDC government, not 4. Please, let's not confuse ourselves. This is 8 years. The promises that were made, and then what happened? Global petrol or crude prices dropped from the days of 2007, 2008 of nearly $130, $140
So about
to
47.
something $47 to $50.
Yeah.
And yet Ghana was one of the few countries in the world when prices go down, where ours goes up.
Because
Where
of
is the
taxes.
economic basis in that? Because we are taxing people to death. We are literally taxing people to death. And you may not see the connection, but when you cannot afford to take a trip from A to B to do your business, or it takes away half your money, that means you have less money to pay for your medicine, etc. That is another. Let's talk about another message that hits home. You know, I was so disappointed, and frankly on the verge of annoyance. When a decision was taken, I don't know who thought of it or what basis they went into it, that says that contrary to every, and I mean every lesson known to man on the health system, that we, Ghana, were going to stand alone in this world and have a one premium only to ensure that we can continue our NHIs. I don't know what they were thinking, or who, maybe they were not thinking, but somebody didn't think about this. How can you do such a foolhardy statement that clearly we know never happened? But what you did in that 3 to 4 year period is you put the NHIS on basically on life support because they were not able to get the revenue. You went and promised the people. Now when we go back and tell the people, you listen, the message comes through because they know the people that introduced it, that didn't lie to them to tell them one premium alone would work, understand how to manage this to make sure it works. Because let me tell you, I remember very well when this was set up, the impact that the NHIS had from going from what President Kufuor, remember, said, cash and carry medical system. You used to have cash before you get taken care of. We are back to that today. How can we call ourselves a country, the middle income or whatever, lower whatever it is? When
The NDC claimed that the NHIS is now robust.
Oh, it's not robust. Just listen, didn't the Catholics just, I mean, how many times have people stopped?
Mission hospitals, not even Catholics.
Yes, mission, they stopped taking, you know, it is, and this is why I'm saying the messaging works, because you can sit here in Accra and profess, but when you go down to the ground, as Nana is doing now, all along the country, not just Nana, Dr. Baumia, I've seen also Mrs. Baumia out there,
Mrs. Akufo-Addo.
Mrs. Akufo-Addo also out there, and very importantly, and this is something I want to stress, the whole team that are around Nana, you know, he cannot run this country alone. Let's be very clear. And this is something we must stress. Anybody that tries to tell you he's doing it alone is lying to you. Because no man has all the knowledge, no man or woman. And so the quality of people, Ghanaians understand when they see the range of people that they are capable of dealing with this problem because they've done it before. So that message comes through. Let's talk about another message that becomes very, very healthy for people. I've heard a lot of discussion said about, oh, we are wonderful, we are doing so well. Even, I think 2 days ago, I saw a news conference being given where Ghana was being lauded for the fact that in 2016, we are now the best investment destination in West Africa. Echo, can I say something, all due respect to our neighbors? In a land of midgets, the tallest person is what? It's still a midget. In the land of midgets, the tallest person is a midget. Our competition, let's be honest, let's be truthful to ourselves, is not each other left and right. In 2008, we built the best investment climate in Africa. 2008. Why would I accept in 2016 that I'm best in West Africa? Is that going forward? That's the motto. You remember what was said? Better? Is that better? Is that better?
Better Ghana.
In any language, that is not better. So when you tell people the ramification of that, let me look at what the ramification of those aspects are. Today, you mentioned the DKM. You know, sometimes when these we call it pyramid schemes, effectively, come about, you know, a lot of the time it's born of anxiety. People, you can't, how can you believe something is going to give you 3 times the interest rate or something else? Because you are in such a dire strait, you're looking for an exit route. How can we be in a situation here in Ghana This same Ghana is supposed to be the best investment destination in West Africa, where the amount of the cost of borrowing between banks, this is the best, is 26%. In Cote d'Ivoire, it's 3.5%. And you're telling me we are better? How are businesses going to survive? Do you know how much these small businesses, the same business brought Afro, some of those people that went and gave their hard-fought savings, that they spent decades probably saving, to be given 5 Ghana cedis. My word. To be given 5. That is a shock to your system. Can you imagine how much they have worked to find out that this thing has disappeared in front of them? Let me add another one that hits home. Because sometimes, and this is why I am pleased that the NPP's people go and talk to people on the ground. Nanado and the whole team, they're all going to the ground. You know, we sit here and we mention big words like, oh, exchange rates and things. And some of my friends are saying to me, oh, and I've been on forums where some of our opponents, NDC, say, oh, it doesn't affect the person on the ground. Let me tell you something. Let's be very clear. Those same people, DKM people, if you are saved, you have been fortunate in this world to save 10,000 Ghana cedis in your account. Okay? 10,000 Ghana cedis. Remember, we live in a world. We've been talking about the US election. There's a reason why when the US election went one way, gold went up and dollar came down. Because the world is a dollarized world. And we're actually making it even worse. But we live in a world today where because of absolutely disastrous economic policies followed by this government, the 10,000 cedis that I had in mind, if you are lucky enough, and I stress this, or if you're a businesswoman, let's say you're a businesswoman in Makola, you go and sell. I met a lady who was dealing in plastics. Give an example. That 10,000 Ghana cedis was equivalent to $10,000. Through no fault of your own, you haven't done anything because of mismanagement. In a 4 or 5 year period, half of it disappears, 50% gone. I'm only talking 4 or 5, between 2013 and 16. Because of that, do you know how difficult it is to make a profit of 100%? To do that, and somebody's wiped 50% of it off? So that same person, that's why the message counts. When you're talking to people on the ground, that's why it makes sense.
Lindsay, do you think that Ghana is sick? A lot of people are saying that Ghana is so sick to the extent that even if Nanado gets the opportunity to lead this country, is going to have it very difficult to lead.
This is why I think people don't understand. The only problem we have, in my opinion, the only problem we have is our leadership. Bottom line, we have everything we need to succeed in this country. We have everything if we have the right leadership. Look, I was on another forum this morning. It was interesting where, we were talking about, and I'm waiting, by the way, to when the announcement will be made that one district, one factory is now being proposed by the NDC. I'm waiting for it. It's going to come. So just wait. Really? It will come very soon. I have no doubt about it. Look, we are saying we are incapable as a people to build 260 factories in Ghana for 30 million people. Are you kidding me? In the forum I was this morning, and I'm sure he would not mind me quoting him, Mr. Pratt, told me that the CPP built 400 factories in the period of Nkrumah's time up to 66. But 400 in up to 1960s. And 2016, we can't build 260. What do you believe in? Do you believe in us? Do you believe that Ghana has the capacity? Do you believe that the black man has the capacity? Because that's what you are saying. If you're telling us we cannot build, we are incapable as a people to build 260 factories in this country, then what are we doing? So when people tell me Ghana is beyond, no, it's not beyond. Because frankly, by the way, it's happened before. Look at the scenario that happened in 2000 when the President Kufuor government came in, and look at the scenario that happened in 2008. You know, I tell people, do people remember the positive nature, the strength of the business sector, the pride that you took when we were waiting within 2 years of petroleum to come on board, and the expectations we had, the huge expectation for us to then come and fall flat on our face in a situation that we found ourselves where we found ourselves. That is just killing us. But I want to talk about another couple. I found it very interesting, and to me, it goes to your point.
We have about 3 minutes to go. So
there are solutions to everything. Today, when I was driving over, I heard that announcement has been made that Arabic was going to be made compulsory as English in class. Please, don't get me wrong. I want to tell you what was in our manifesto. You know that instructors in Zongo, as part of Northern Ghana, were paid allowances under the National Volunteer Program by the Kufuor government? This NDC cancelled it. So we have said we are going to restore that policy, and we are going to put Arabic as an optional language taught at JHS and HSS.
Yes.
So what happens? Somebody reads this and realizes, oh boy, I have to go and do something. You see, this knee-jerk reaction is where I have fundamental challenges. We have to address our challenges in Ghana holistically and without fear or favor. We need to address the challenges. And I have absolutely no doubt that Ghana has the capacity and the capability, as we said in 57, to get to where we need to be fast if we have the leadership. And that is why, for the viewer's perspective, it's a simple case. Just compare 8-8. Were you better? Take a snapshot of your life. 2008, 2016. If you are better in 2016, vote for NDC. If you're not, you know where to vote, NPP.
Mr. Asigri, let me take your last words.
Yeah, my last words. For me, it's quite refreshing that, you know, a party that stood on the, a party whose leader stood on the platform and then said that if a government wants to tout its achievement and is talking about development projects, that is an effort of mediocrity. Today, when you listen to NDC and its communicators, including even the president himself, all you hear them talk about are about roads, circle overhead, Kaswa interchange, and our airport, where they've gone to the extent of ridiculing themselves, and then they sit there and say our airport can now be compared to Heathrow. Not even Terminal 4, where when flights take off here, land at, but the entire Heathrow, that our airport can be compared to that. Anyway, for us, we have indicated to the Ghanaian people that we are capable. And we have a message which is resonating with them. And what we are seeing is an assurance that they would stand by us come December 2017, which is just a couple of days. Sorry, December 2016.
Okay, thank you very much.
A couple of days before.
We were joined by Mr. Robert Ahomka Lindsay. He's a former GIPC boss, a former vice president of Coca-Cola Africa, and also Mr. Emmanuel Asigri, a former DC somewhere in the Upper East region, sorry, and also a member of the National Communication Team. My name is Vincent Eko Asifwa. Thanks for joining us. Meet you next week. Bye.